The light's on, says you're on the cloud. So we'll see when it's supposed to come back to me whether or not it actually works. So um, what I did over the past couple of weeks is I embarked on a project. I know that you guys probably get tired of hearing me talk from all my opinion and all my experience about buyers and sellers in the market and how to get better. You definitely get tired of hearing Brendan talk about it because he's not as good at it as I am. But it can start to get a bit monotonous. And then, if you're doing a really good job as a person in our position, you have to at some point question, like, am I given the right advice? Right? I mean, what else is out there? Now, to back up, we listen to all kinds of people tell us all kinds of things, and we listen to really, really smart people, and we read things from really, really smart people. So most of the stuff that comes out of our mouth is not original thought. Okay. We're just not that smart. It comes from another source and then we distribute it to you. We usually take that information, bounce it off of our experience, and then give it to you. But still, you have to question my experience filter, my opinion. How much is that weighing on what I'm saying? And is it 100% accurate? So, what I decided to do was I talked to one, two, three, four, five people. Um, Four of them were pretty talkative. One of them was not a lot of good info. But anyways, really, really, excuse me, experienced agents, solid, steady production. Um, Anybody would look at them and say, "Yup, that's a solid agent," right? Any of us would look at them and say, "Yup, that's a solid agent." Um, I one of the I agreed when I told him, I said, look, this is what we're doing. I'm going to be totally transparent because if you ever watch any of my playbacks, they're going to hear their quotes. So it's not like I'm not going to tell them what I'm doing this for or that I was going to share this information. And so I agreed with them right up front. I will not share your name. I won't even I won't share which brokerage you're with. I won't share your actual level of production. None of that. It's just all generic answers. All right. And what I want to know from you is give me your best takes and perceptions and strategies for working with a seller today, working with a buyer today. Give me your take on the market in general today, and then pretend that you're me and pretend that you have to give a real brief set of instructions to a brand new agent or an agent that's trying to go next level about how they can impact their growth in the real estate industry, right? Took all their answers, compiled it, post-it notes, napkins, notepads, all this other stuff. By the way, this does work. I told Michael this morning when we were talking on the phone, I go, I've got all this data that I've got to compile into an easy to read, easy to digest thing for the meeting. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it out on a table, take a picture of it with my phone, throw it into Chat GPT, and see if it'll consolidate it, just as an experiment, right? I goes, yeah, try it. Well, guess what? It worked. It actually did it. Okay. It asked me a couple of questions because it couldn't read my handwriting, but it actually did it. It actually did it. So um, I can't go a week without talking about AI and the fact that I used to hate it and now I rely on it heavily. So here we go. Let's talk about sellers. So we talked about sellers first. And to qualify, there were all some common themes around sellers, right? The first common theme was they're really not happy about what their house is likely going to sell for today, right? We all know what's happened with real estate cycle pricing and what's happened since the most recent boom in 2021. And if you happen to buy during that period of time, what kind of position you're in right now, it's not great, right? Or if you formed a price opinion about your property at that time, let's say you bought your house in 2015, but you saw all that appreciation into 21, 2020, 21. And, you know, when you're a homeowner, you'll take all of the appreciation feel goods and you'll forget about all of the depreciation feel bads or poor market conditions. So even if they're in a solid equity position, they're still not happy about what their house will likely sell for today. Okay. So those were all bits and pieces of that. Those were all the common theme, right? So, when you're talking to these folks, you got to get through that. They got to talk through that. And they all said the same thing, basically. It's that same basic common thing. And then it's like, all right, so great. Knowing that that's the case, knowing that that's the case, what do you say to people to kind of bring them back to center and put them on task and get their house sold? What do you tell them? Here's the highlights of what they said. And these are quotes, okay? In this market, pricing strategy matters more than hope. I love that. Matters more than hope. Sharp initial pricing, strong presentation, and clean marketing are what create leverage. You're going to hear that word pop up again, okay? Because smart agents understand leverage, all right? Number two, here it comes again. Different person. Preparation is leverage. Buyers have too many choices right now, and they will move towards homes that feel cared for, easy to evaluate, and well documented. Okay. Number three, sellers should expect longer timelines and may need to adjust their price or their terms to get their home sold. Number four, timing of listing is urgent. List it now. I I had to chuckle about that one because I had a conversation with somebody the other day and they were like, "Well, I'm just waiting for the right time." And I'm like, "Yes, it's yesterday." Right? And number five, this was someone that's been around for a while. Marketing, this is interesting. Marketing quality matters again. Like that statement assumes that for a while it didn't, right? Marketing quality matters again. In a balanced market, which they feel that we're in, buyers compare everything. Okay. So what are you getting from that? You're talking to a seller, you're talking to a seller, and we're gonna have to wait till the end, and I'll tell you about the last little listing presentation I went on. It was really interesting. You're talking to a seller, and you've got now five assistants barking in your ear, six if you count me. And what are they all saying? They're all saying that if you want to go to market and you want to be as successful as you possibly can, and you don't want to be on the market forever, which look, we don't, all right? We absolutely don't. If you think that being on the market for any more than like 20 days is any fun, talk to anybody that's done it recently. It is not fun. Everybody's mad, all right? Everybody's disappointed. There's all this pressure. It's a horrible experience. If you want to avoid that, and if you want to have any kind of leverage with the buyers, that right now, by the way, unless you do it right, the buyers own the world. Unless you do it right, unless you create leverage, you've got to do certain things. We talk about it all the time. They move towards homes that feel cared for, easy to evaluate, and well documented. How do you create a home that feels well cared for, easy to evaluate, and well documented? You do the right prep, you get it staged, you get all the inspections up front, you're very transparent about the disclosures up front, and you upload all of that stuff on the front end of it so that it feels well cared for, easy to evaluate, and well documented. The other side of the coin, and this is going to be a huge extreme, but the concept is the same. Brendan's got a big old listing. It's a commercial building. It didn't have any disclosure on it because they weren't in the position to do any disclosure up front. It got put into contract pretty close to list price. Buyer comes in, does a bunch of inspections, finds a bunch of stuff, What we talk about? $300,000 price reduction, Brendan? 200,000? Something like that? Something 100,000. All right? That's the other end of the spectrum. And it doesn't matter the size of the property or whether it's a commercial building or a piece of residential real estate. The pattern will be exactly the same. If you don't do it up front, you're going to, as a listing agent, as a seller, if you don't do it up front, you're going to be victim to it when the buyer does it. Okay? So prep really, really matters. Setting expectations. I like number three. They talk about setting expectations with the seller. Look, you should expect a longer timeline than you might have expected in 2021. You should be prepared if nothing happens that we may need to make an adjustment in price or we may need to make an adjustment in terms. Brendan's specialty, set expectations up front. Look, we think we've done a good job. We've done everything we can to do, but if the right thing being a contract doesn't happen in the first couple of weeks, we got to talk. Okay, we got to talk. Don't wait for that time to come and then have that conversation. That's no fun, right? Number five, marketing quality matters again. Look, I think it always did. Okay, but I agree with this person. It's really, really critical now because if you don't do it right now, like we've been saying, there's two types of listings, and they all agreed with this, with my tale of two listings. There's two types of listings. There's a kind that goes right away, and then there's a kind that's never going to sell unless you do something really dramatic, right? And being in position two sucks. Okay, it sucks bad. Buyers. We moved on to buyers. Again, there were some very general themes. They all said the same thing in different words, but it was essentially this. Buyers are really, really picky. They don't feel a huge sense of urgency to act. They feel like they have all the time in the world, and they're very, very rate sensitive. Okay? Even though it's not actually the rate, that's what they fly under. They're very, very rate sensitive. And what that really means, as you'll see in the comments that come up, what that really means is they're payment sensitive. Okay? Because this is talking to people that not only rep buyers, but they're selling buyers. They're selling houses. They're taking buyers, they're taking them out on tour, they're going through the effort, and they have closings. All right? This is not, oh, I've been showing these people for 4 months and they just haven't found the right property. No, these guys are closing transactions. Okay. So again, we went through the same process. I said, everybody's got these common themes. We all agree of what the general feeling of a buyer is or the general disposition of a buyer is. How do you deal with that? How do you take that mentality and get them into action? Because you understand that if you agree to rep a buyer and they don't have a sense of urgency and motivation to purchase, you're going to do the work, right? You understand that. You're going to drive them around. You're going to show lots of houses. You're going to open a lot of doors. You're going to make a lot of phone calls. You're going to have a lot of text messages. You're going to go through a lot of reports. You're going to still do the work. Okay? It's not like sitting on a listing where there's only so much that you can do, right? Repping buyers is high intensity. Setting up showings, doing the follow-up after the showings, going through the reports, digesting all the questions, getting all the answers to the questions that they have think about it. It's a ton of work. So if you're going to be in that cycle and you're going to deal with somebody that isn't urgent and is being very, very picky, how do you spring them into action? Number one, lead with payment comfort. Stay away from market predictions. All right? Don't even talk about the market or what's going on. Focus on you've been pre-qualified for this. If we buy a house for this, the payment is this. That's what you're comfortable with. Let's find a house for X. Let's find a house you like for X. Right? Monthly affordability matters more than being perfect about timing or rates. All right. That was the whole answer to the first person. Number two, you're going to see a common theme here. I tell them not to wait for the perfect rate. Even a modest rate drop will bring more buyers back into competition. The prices will go up and you'll have more people battling for the same house. Okay. So again, I'm thinking that that person, I should have asked one more question, but I'm thinking that that person kind of went with number one too. Don't wait for the perfect rate, wait for the perfect payment, right? Find the perfect house with the perfect payment and get into it. Number three, buyers have more options and more time to consider choices in many markets. Oh, in many markets that I work in. This is a real problem. So I think what that person is trying to say is, look, they're not motivated necessarily to act urgently. There's more inventory that we have to wade through than there has been in a long time. They're pickier than they've been for a while because they can be, and it's taken a lot longer, and you have to be a lot better about getting them into contract, right? Too many of them are trying to wait for the bottom. Focus on a home that fits your lifestyle and find a payment that fits your budget, right? I've been doing real estate in some form or another for 25 years. Alan's been doing real estate in some form or another for probably more than that. Brenda's been doing real estate in some form or another for 20 years. He's also had the benefit of working almost exclusively on the lending side of the transaction. So I'm going to pick on Chad. Chad's in here. Chad has been doing real estate in some form or another for right around 20 years. So I'm going to ask the three of you right now because I can't do it. Guys, can you tell me where the bottom is? Anybody tell me where the bottom is?
Back in 2008 or 10.
No, no, no. The bottom the bottom of this cycle that we're in right now, post-COVID. Can you tell me when the bottom's going to be? Can you tell me
When
where it is?
when you ask about the bottom, are you talking about percentage in the price range, or what are we talking about?
Let's go on price. Let's keep it real simple. Where's the bottom of price? How far away are we from the bottom of price? And I don't want guesses. Can you tell me definitively when it's going to be?
Well, you're asking the wrong
With,
person.
Yeah,
Anyway,
without
okay, good,
sarcasm?
good, good. Chad, where are you,
but
buddy? Can you tell me definitively when it's going to be?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Okay, great. So Chad doesn't know either. All
well,
right, guys.
No.
let me explain because I kind of have a feeling. Because this again, I've told you this. It's a cycle. This is a regular cycle, normal real estate cycle.
You're
The
right.
guy said balance. That's what he means. We got as many buyers as we have houses out selling. We don't have too many houses for the buyers. The buyers are waiting. So
Right.
I'm thinking property values, like let's say on a house that's 550,000, will drop down to 525, and or even if it's not staged right and look
Okay,
like a
but
hundred.
tell me what month that's going to happen.
Oh, what month?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh shoot, ain't
Yeah,
gonna
that's
happen.
You
That's
can't.
about
you
it.
can't either.
It
You
Here's my
no.
can't.
point. Here's my
It,
point. Alan, I tricked you, and I'm sorry. It's
I,
don't take it personally, buddy. You know
I'm
I
not.
love you.
It's all good.
Here's my point. Guys, for the rest of you, that's almost 100 years worth of real estate experience combined, and none of us know when the bottom is. How the hell is your buyer going to predict it?
Oh, because they have Zillow.
Right? I know. I
Right.
know. Okay. So
But,
look,
but truly, what I tell my buyers now and my sellers, it's a seller and buyer's market. I tell them what I just said. It's a balanced market. Now's the time to sell because it's a perfect time to buy, and now's the perfect time to buy because it's a perfect time to sell. Can you get some deals? Yeah. So
yep.
be
Yeah.
ready for offers and be ready to make offers, and that's what I'm telling my people.
I think that's a great approach, Alan. I think it's a fantastic approach, and it's true. It's based in
I
truth.
100%. I agree too. But to your point, though, Damian, we don't know. We don't know. There's way too many variables and factors, especially in the current state of
Affairs.
this. Yes.
And
Yes.
even though the stern state of affairs doesn't matter, the younger generation, if for some reason it affects them.
Yeah. I
Well,
actually tell people if I knew where the bottom was, and I had that crystal ball, I'd be rich right now and sitting on a beach, and I wouldn't be talking to you.
yeah,
And I actually also tell people that, hey, listen, are you if you're going to buy and you're going to buy and hold, you can't go wrong. Here's the thing, because even if it goes down, you buy and hold, it's going to go up eventually. You're going to get all your money back, and it's going to appreciate. So as long as you're not going to sell in 3 years and try to make money off of it, you're safe. Buy and hold. It's a good time.
yep, I agree. I agree. Um, thank you guys for playing along, and I hope that that gives some perspective on those that are waiting for the bottom or the collapse or the whatever. It's just, I'm not going to say it's not going to happen because the minute I say that, it actually will happen, but it's just not likely to happen. All right. Uh, could there be some slight fluctuation like Alan's talking about where the 550 house today in a month or two is 525? Sure. Yeah. It absolutely. It could swing the other way too. It could go to 575, then back down to 550, then back down to 525 all in 90 days. That could all happen. But that's not really a huge market cycle. And I got to tell you this from another agent that I know that's not part of this interview, but I know his spiel. If $25,000 is keeping you out of ownership, you're probably not in the right position to be in ownership,
Right.
right? So think about that. The last comment that I got on buyers was to be ready for pockets of competition. Great homes in great conditions in great locations will still move quickly. What I took from that, and I think Chad's last listing was a prime example. Okay. Chad's last listing was in Citrus Heights, and it was in this beautiful little pocket of Citrus Heights that he and I both analyzed and agreed this little neighborhood pocket is on fire. Absolute fire. What's interesting is if you went out a mile all the way around it, it wasn't on fire. It was garbage as far as market conditions are concerned. You've got to let your clients know about that, right? You've got to let them know about that. Like, hey, I don't care what's going on in the rest of the greater Sacramento area. But if you decide that you want to park yourself in Loomis, or you want to park yourself in East Sacramento, or you want to park yourself somewhere with a really, really good school district, Caseburg Park in Roseville, you need to understand the activity and what's going to happen with any listing that pops up there is not the same as what's going to happen everywhere else. Okay, you've got to understand the microclimate of real estate, right? All right, before we move on, any questions or comments on what the agents had to say about working with sellers, what the agents had to say about working with buyers? Anybody want to tell me how full of crap they are? And I'll pass it along to them, I promise.
My only note would be, well, not that they're full of crap, but maybe just as a side note to all of that, I think that especially with the under 40 aged buyers, if we're representing them, it's their first time home, or it's their upgrade family, growing room home. If they're buying, they're growing up in a technology age that some of us are not aware of, and the information age is out there in a way that they feel overwhelmed. There's so much to take in and so much to calculate, and their stress and anxiety. So much of what we do is managing the psychology, honestly.
Buddy,
And
I'm so glad you brought that up, and here's why. I had an in-depth conversation with one of them that I didn't put in the notes because I was driving and you just reminded me of it. I had an in-depth conversation with one of them about um, age brackets, age brackets. And she honed in on the millennials, right? So she's got a ton of clients right now, buyer clients that are millennials. And she was talking about that tech, that tech savvy and living in a tech world and the anxiety and the lack of decision. And she said she finally figured out a way to break the cycle. She took it old school. Every time she takes a millennial out on tour, she brings a new clipboard. She buys them at Staples for like $1.79. She brings a new clipboard and a stack of paper on the clipboard with the address at the top written in pen, the address at the top, a line down the middle of the paper, and on the left side of the paper it says good, and on the right side of the paper it says bad, right? And after they go through the house, before they leave, she goes to her car, they go to their car. She sets her timer on her phone. In 5 minutes, they have to write all the goods and all the bad on the paper. And then at the end of the day, they'll have three or four of them with all the goods and all the bads. And she said it helps them digest it and feel calmer about the process. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Absolutely. And
Well,
I do the same thing. I have a dozen clipboards and I'll just grab one, throw it in my backpack. Um, and that's how I was going to say it. Get them out of what is normal for them. Get their face away from that little screen
yep.
and talk to them from the psychological standpoint on what they're buying. If you have time, a few minutes, I could tell one example of a Gen Z that bought a couple years ago. I represented the buyer. It was a first time home purchase. Knew them very well, and they trusted me. But even so, there's still all these questions and anxiety and everything else, and they weren't sure if they could grab it. And so, walking them through what an actuary table is with a
Yeah.
clipboard.
Yeah.
What does this look like? Well, what is your mortgage made up of? Walking them through PITI, an
Mm-hmm.
actuary table, and just giving some old school education outside of a tech screen. I said,
Mm-hmm.
you can buy this now. And I love your 25,000 example because $25,000, like you cut your entertainment budget in half and stop buying Starbucks. And there you go. There's your
Yeah.
25 grand.
Exactly.
So on a mortgage, that's, how does that add up? It's like, well, okay, that's like $10, $20 a month, or, it's like, here's what it looks like. Oh, well, we could do that. And you can refinance. The rates aren't great now, but, a couple of years, refinance. Then they understand how actuaries work. Um, and all of a sudden they've called me twice to refinance, and now they're in the home. The home's not really worth a whole lot more than it was 2 years ago, but they're
Mm-hmm.
paying $400 less per month.
Yeah.
So, and they're totally happy, and I get a referral out of it.
Yeah, absolutely right. I'll bore all of you guys with one more story, but that's very, very valid. But I'll give you another one talking about the younger generation. I know because I looked at it. Most of you saw the social media post that I put on about my client that got the first time home buyer grant from Placer County and bought a nice house in Christian Valley. And I don't know how many houses I showed her. It was a lot. Um, she's definitely a Gen Z person, very methodical, very hardworking. Keeps all of her notes in her phone digitally, like you would imagine everything else. But the thing that struck me was, and this was the same on all of the houses, but the one that she bought when we walked through it was so much better than anything else that we had seen. And it was just like in pristine condition. It was perfect. I mean, I was excited about it. And she still had the same blank look. But after going through the whole house and going around the outside and everything else, she had the same blank look. And it happened every time. But I had to ask her, I said, um, do you like the house? What do you think of the house? Do you like the house? And she was like, oh, yeah, I love it. This is the best house that we've seen. But you wouldn't know that There was no way to tell that she was even excited about it. And it's just really, really interesting. You take a couple of Gen Xers through there in the same kind of situation, or a boomer through there in the same kind of situation, you probably can't shut them up, right? We've all been there. They're
Right.
talking about how great it is and how well it's going to fit and how the China hutch or whatever is going to fit perfectly there, and it's got enough room for their kids to come over and visit, or it's got a home office. Before you're even halfway done with the showing, yeah, it's a winner. You know it. No, you don't know. They're just very stoic, very blank, kind of walk around, like not saying much. You're doing all the talking. They're just kind of walking around, and then come to find out that she's so excited she can't even believe that she can potentially buy a house like this, and she's never going to move. It doesn't even matter. We had talked about you can move in this many years and do this. No, I'm never going to move. This is my forever home. Never would have known it. It's just, it's different. It's absolutely different. All right. So,
Yeah.
moving to the next subject. What is your opinion of the market? Give me your forecast for 2026. The answer was consistent. The initial answer was consistent, and it's an answer that I use too all the time, and that is the market is weird, right? It's very, very weird. All right, great. I'm glad that you told me the market was weird. Thanks for, making me smarter. And so I said, all right, well, I know it's weird, but here's what Carr says. Carr says that there should be a 2% Carr California Association of Realtors, a 2% increase in 2026 with the median price living, or excuse me, median price rising 3.6% to $905,000 in California. That's the median price in California, $905,000. So tell me, what do you think, agents? Tell me, what do you think 2026 is going to be like? And granted, like we're almost halfway through it, right? So they said, let me qualify one more thing. If you ask somebody that's doing somewhere between 12 and 28 transactions annually what the market's like, and you ask somebody that's doing one or two transactions in that same period what the market's like, you understand you're going to get a very different answer, right? You know that. So these guys are in the group of people that I mentioned first. All right. They're still busy, right? So I asked them, what does the market look like? And they said this 2026, I think, is a reset towards normal decisions, normal timelines, and normal negotiations. Alan, does that sound familiar? Right? Another one said 2026 looks like a year of small adjustments, moderate appreciation, steady rates, and growing inventory. All right. Another one said, more inventory is creating a much more balanced market. This is the same person, you can tell. But leverage still varies sharply by location and micro location. Another one said, I think buyers who sat out for the last few years, 2026 is going to bring them more opportunity as inventory improves and rates stabilize. Okay. What did you what did you not hear from any of them?
Well,
Versus
no one said it's crashing. No one said the bubble popped. None of that.
there was no fear mongering stuff like if you scroll
Yes.
social media, right? What else did you not hear from any of them?
That's going to be great.
Yes. Nobody said, "Woo, we're back." Right? Like, "Hey, it's good times. I'm buying a boat." Right? Nobody said that. What else did you not hear from any of them? Market sucks. Can't sell a house, right? Don't have any business. You didn't hear any of the extremes from any of them, good or bad. Just kind of like, here we go, right? Finding a way to get it done, getting it done. Okay. The most important question. I said, you're me. You got to tell a bunch of agents how to either get their business up and running, or you got to tell a bunch of agents how to go from where they are and elevate to the next level. Okay. How are they going to do that? I love this guy. Stop making marketing and social media marketing about yourself and make it more about what buyers and sellers actually care about. The next one. Learn how to leverage technology to make your business run more smoothly. Use it to remove friction and create efficiency and free up your time. Okay. Number 3, there's a million things you can do. Choose a few core actions, implement them consistently, and then be patient enough to let the compounding effect work. Number 4, if you want to grow, you have to show up in ways that other agents won't show up. Number 5, use information and data to present professional opinions on real estate and the real estate market. Don't use these things to create generic headlines. That was pretty marketing specific. And I saved the best one for last. The best one for last was decide who you are as an agent. Make sure that it makes sense. Don't change that for anyone. If somebody doesn't want to use you for the agent that you are, move along. Yeah, it's pretty easy to say when you do 28 units in a year. But let me give you an example. All right. Let me give you an example. I went on a listing appointment about, Chad's got a little bugle going. Yeah. I went on a listing appointment about a week or so ago, and this was the first listing appointment that I have been on in as long as I can remember that was pretty much cold. All right. This was not a referral from somebody that I had worked with in the past. This was not a previous client. This was cold. As cold as mine gets. So I asked him, "How did you hear about me?" Right? Also, I've never had a listing appointment request like this. Guys, I got a text message that said, "Hey Damian, this is blank. We live at blank. We want to sell our house. Can you come over and tell us about and talk to us about getting it on the market?" And so my first instinct was spam, right? And so I sent back some qualifying questions and he answered it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come over. So I got the address, like I said, and I went over. But my first question to them was, how'd you find me? And they said, well, we Googled you, we found you online, and then we remembered that you sold a house down the street, and we remembered that it went very, very well. And so we thought that, we would have you over, and you're one of 4. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Am I first or last? And they said, no, you're the last one to that we scheduled. And I said, okay, great. I had all my stuff, right? And I said, how did you remember that I sold the house down the street? And they said, oh, well, we recognized your picture. And I go, okay, cool. So are you picking up what I'm laying down? You really probably ought to focus on that profiling project that I emailed you a couple of weeks ago, and you really ought to never ever change your picture, right? So have a consistent picture. So we get into the presentation, for lack of a better term. And I feel like it's going pretty well until I start talking about my plan. And everybody knows what my plan is. I'm not going to break it down, but I start talking about my plan and how my plan is so important. And as soon as I start talking about the plan, I see, this happening. Right? And I'm like, okay, here we go. So I stick with it. I stick with the plan or whatever. But then what doesn't usually happen happened. And then they started arguing with me about the plan. Okay. And I had to make a decision. And I'm going to be totally honest. All right. It was a long day. I was tired. It was the last appointment of the day, and I wasn't having it. Okay. If it would have been at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I was all fresh and chipper and everything else, the conversation might have gone a lot different way, a much different way. Okay, but I wasn't having it. Okay. And then they started throwing other agents in my face. They wouldn't give me their names. They started throwing other agents in my face, and I really wasn't having it. Right. So I got pretty blunt. Okay. This is how I do it. This is why I do it this way. This is the way that it works. If any other agent is telling you that you don't need to do that or you shouldn't do that, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I don't know any top performer that would ever tell you that staging's a waste of money. I mean, on and on and on and on and on and on and on, right? And they just got real quiet. Okay. Real quiet. And so I said, okay, well, if there's anything else that we need to cover, please let me know. If not, I'll let you get back to your evening and I'll wait to hear from you. All right. They said this was a Friday. They said, "Great, we're gonna talk about it over the weekend. We will call you or text you and let you know on Monday after we've made our decision." I said, "Great, it's nice to meet you." Left the building, got into the car, called Jess, said, "I'll never get that hour and a half back. These people aren't going to use me. There's no way in hell. It was a complete waste of my time. Let's go get a beer." So went home, you know. Uh, God dang, the next day was Derby Day, wasn't it? I think so. The next day was Derby Day, so having some food, watching some horses, and I get a phone call, and it's them. I'm like, well, okay. So I walk outside because there's people in the house. I walk outside. And, hey, how's it going? Oh, going pretty good. Going pretty good. Look, we just wanted to call you back right away and let you know that we believe in you and we're going to use you. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. No way in hell would I have ever predicted that. No way in hell would I have ever predicted that. Okay? These people did not like me. They still don't. I was just there the other day. I'm pretty sure they don't like me. All right? I had to go there the other day to talk to have their staging consult, to talk to them about inspections, to talk to them about all the things that we need to do, and I'm still pretty sure they don't like me. All right? But they signed, guys. They signed. And I truly believe it's only because I had a plan, I could articulate the plan, and I wouldn't deviate from the plan. And you know what? Like I said, if it would have been 10 in the morning, I might have deviated from the plan. Like, yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever you want. Let's do it. We'll try it your way, sure, or whatever. It would have cost me. So there might be something to the agent that says, find out who you are, find out what you do, find out how you do it. Tell them that's the way it is. Tell them that that's how you're going to do business. That's how it's going to work. And if they don't want it, walk. Could be something to it. Okay. That's it. 345. Questions, thoughts, concerns, questions about the listing appointment that I thought for sure was, I haven't had one go that bad in years. I mean, it went bad, right? Years. And I'm not going to name drop, but I found out who the other two were. Three, excuse me. I found out who two of the other three were, and they're good. I mean, they're real good. So I don't know. Still don't know. All I know is it's signed. And we're doing it. It's going on the market the first weekend in June. We're doing it. Let's do it.
I've
Oh,
won
questions.
listing. Yeah, I've won listing appointments by just being honest, by telling the truth. Where I've had to interview against a couple of different agents, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, I think we can sell for that price." And I go, "There's no way. This is the real price."
Okay,
And they
right.
like me because they go, "These guys are, saying that we can do it, and you're telling us there's no way." And so we think you're telling us the truth. So
Yeah.
that helped out.
I've
Yeah.
had similar situations. I think they like it. They don't like it, but when you're firm with them, they believe in you more than the other ones that's just blowing smoke. And
That's an interesting point, Alan. Yeah. When you're firm with them or when you're firm in your convictions, Maybe they think that maybe they give you a little bit more credit for knowing what you're doing versus someone who's telling them whatever they want to hear to try and get them to sign. Maybe that's
Yeah.
it.
When I was in building, I had a phrase I would tell my subs when I know there'd be a price that I don't want to pay. Before they give me the invoice, I would say, lie to me, because I don't want to hear the truth. And so they knew basically you better come with the best bill or else you're fired type thing.
Yeah.
But bottom line is you're telling them this is what I'm going to do. This is what needs to do to sell, and you're being firm about it. You're not being wishy-washy. The other two agents that were top agents, they always got a smile on their face and telling you what you want to hear. I dealt with both agents at the builder, and the agents that told me what I wanted to hear, I never dealt with them. I used Barbara Law. I don't mind saying the name. She did not blow smoke. No, she told us how it was.
Not pleasant. I know, Barb. Not pleasant.
Not at all.
Yeah.
My agent for 20 years, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Danielle, thanks, Alan, buddy. I appreciate that. Danielle brings up a good point. She says they know you'll be a firm negotiator on their behalf. That's a great point, too. That's a great point, too.
I was just gonna say, someone, I can't remember who said it, but such a good one-liner is when you're sitting at the table talking about price or your commission or whatever, and you just look at them and say, this is the only time we'll be on opposing sides, you know,
Oh,
which helps you be firm in your compensation because if you can't negotiate your own compensation, how are you going to negotiate $40,000 in repairs or credits?
wow, that's a good one. I'm gonna use. I don't use that one now. That one's going in my bank of responses for sure. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. It. I think I might have even gotten animated with them, Brendan, and I know you know what that means. Um, I mean, I was hot. I was hot.
If you guys have ever been with Damian on a listing appointment, he'll tell them what it's going to sell for, and then he'll say, "Watch, just watch. You'll see what's going to happen." He's very firm in it. And he knows where it's going to sell at, and he tells them, "You're crazy if you think it's going to sell for more."
Yeah. Chad got to experience that a little cold. Yeah.
Yes. First time signing on, first time ever doing any business together. And we didn't even sit down and do a prep or meet ahead of time. And I see Damian just is like, he's like, do you mind? I was like, oh, go ahead. And I saw
I think at the same time too, the passion comes through, and they see that they appreciate that.
That could be.
Yeah,
That could
I
be.
agree. I agree, and I liked what Alan said too. I think that it all kind of ties in, Damien too. Like you said, if you got animated, but there's a lot of it. Like if you're talking about what you know that you know, and this is my experience, it comes across. People can read confidence, and it'll come across that way too. Like this is what I know, and I'm telling you, if we do this, it'll sell for that. And it comes across very matter of fact, and maybe they like that, but and not everybody is a Damien. Not everybody is a hard ass negotiator or a market predictor, but we need to stay in our lane on how what I like to say is how God designed us, how we're made, how we're manufactured. It's like if we're better, whatever our personality is, be you and be authentically you. I think, which is what you're talking about, and they can read that. They can read, and authenticity appeals to people, I think.
Yeah, and I think that if you decide, based on the agent's comment, I think that if you decide and know really clearly in your mind who you are as a real estate agent, how you work as a real estate agent, what your values are, and you live inside of that, like Chad's saying, you stay in that lane, you've done the work to determine who you are and what that is. And I mean that's real work. You've really sat down and had to be honest with yourself and ask yourself some hard questions about this is who I am as an agent, right? And when you stay inside of that and you can communicate that to people and show up that way, I think you're right, Chad. I think they read passion and authenticity. Like I said, Yeah, and talking to you guys through this has really kind of helped me clarify it in my brain. I still am not sure that those people like me, but they believe me, right? They clearly believe me. So for me, that's enough.
I'm going to interrupt.
I hope at the end of the process they like me, but if they believe me and they believe my message and they have faith and confidence in me, that's enough for me. I'll take it.
Yeah, Brianna said that she needs to be more unhinged, and that's kind of the what it is. You have to be like brutally honest with these people, I think, at times, and they appreciate it. There's so many people that lie to them or don't tell them the truth. People are they're dying to hear the truth. They want it so badly. So if you're the one to do it, they love it.
I think they love it
Yeah.
eventually. So- Sometimes they might not love it right up front, but um,
I think they
yeah,
crave it.
I don't think, I would never advocate, I would never advise somebody to be unhinged, but I don't think any of us can have enough passion in what we're doing or for what we're doing, or a passion to really have, like, I know all of you guys, uh, you know, pretty well. And I know that all of you have this passion for your clients to be successful. And you know that when your clients are successful, you're successful. But my point is, you approach this business with the heart of a servant. You have the passion to serve the client, and you know that that helps you succeed and do better. My question is, does your client know that? Right? Do they all know that? Do they know, like I know, that like you would literally part the sea if you could for them? Do they know that? And it's okay that you convey that to them somehow, some way, your way, the
Right.
way that makes sense for the agent that you are. I
Yes.
could never see, I know Chad, and I could never see Chad, coming in hot like that on somebody the way I do. That's just not how he's built, right? And that's great because what Chad does possess is this amazing, supportive, consultative, patient presentation that people just make people really comfortable and have a ton of faith in him, you know? Uh, and neither one is better. We're just different. That's it. About it. All right, guys. I hope this was helpful. If you need me in the meantime, you know where to find me. If you don't have anything else, I'm going to get you out of here. I'm going to click the button in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See y'all later.